Alex Albon is a completely different driver in 2022 to the one who looked hopelessly lost during his final months with Red Bull Racing 2 seasons ago. The London-born Thai joined Williams after a year on the sidelines as Red Bull's reserve driver. There was an element of risk for Williams in signing him, as despite Albon being highly regarded as a driver with tremendous ability, he struggled when up against Max Verstappen at Red Bull. The hope was always that Albon's blend of F1 experience, top team know-how and determination to reignite his F1 career would coalesce, and he'd finally fulfil his prodigious potential in F1. Based on the first 5 races of the season, it was an inspired signing, giving Williams a talismanic driver to replace the seemingly irreplaceable George Russell. Escaping the pressure cooker environment of Red Bull Racing has been key to Albon living up to his prodigious potential, albeit in the lower reaches of the F1 grid given Williams' difficult start to the season. When Albon was promoted from Toro Rosso to Red Bull Racing after the summer break in 2019, taking Pierre Gasly's place, he had just half a season in F1 under his belt. But he performed well, finishing in the top 6 in every race except for the Brazilian Grand Prix, where he lost second with 2 laps remaining after being hit by Lewis Hamilton. 2 races before the end of 2019, Red Bull confirmed Albon would continue as Verstappen's teammate for the following season. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner praised his consistency, but also warned Albon had to unlock more of his potential in 2020. But 2020 didn't go as Albon or Red Bull hoped. That's despite a promising start, with a pit stop under a late safety car in the season-opening Austrian Grand Prix potentially putting him in a position to win the race. But he had to overtake Mercedes duo Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas to do so. When he tried to pass Hamilton around the outside of turn 4 for second place, the Mercedes driver understeered into him and tipped the Red Bull into a spin. Sadly, Albon never really built on that glimpse of success, and he struggled for pace compared to Verstappen. A change of race engineer, with the vastly experienced Simon Rennie, who had previously worked with Fernando Alonso, Robert Kubica, Kimi Raikkonen and Mark Webber, returning to the race team didn't help. There were times when Albon appeared to make progress through practice, only to fall well short in qualifying. While Verstappen was a podium regular, Albon struggled for results. Albon did eventually break his podium duck with 3rd place in the 9th race of the season at Mugello, following it up with a repeat performance in Bahrain, but his results simply weren't good enough. Watching Albon's onboard cameras and from trackside, it was clear he lacked the confidence in the car that Verstappen had. This generation of Red Bull F1 cars proved to be very tail-happy, a trait Verstappen could cope with but that limited Albon, who craves a stable rear end to go with a positive turn-in. Red Bull didn't need Albon to beat or even match Verstappen in qualifying, but his average deficit of just under half a second, the 3rd worst of all the teammate pairings in 2020, wasn't good enough. Despite impressing the team with his work ethic, technical feedback and determination, and Red Bull gave him every chance to make the seat his own given those qualities, the team eventually realised it had to replace Albon. Once the season ended, Sergio Perez, a free agent after being dropped by Racing Point, was signed. Albon ended the year seemingly a broken man, without a drive, his confidence shot and no immediate way back. For 2021, he took on the role of Red Bull reserve driver, but after 2 seasons, it seemed his career as an F1 race driver was over. We'll get on to how Albon turned things around in a moment, but first, thanks for watching this video. Hit the thumbs up if you like it, and if you want to make sure you don't miss anything from the race, hit subscribe. It might not seem like much, but this really does help us keep doing what we do here at the race. Albon kept a low profile during much of 2021. He only grabbed the headlines when Red Bull revealed it had, absurdly, used Albon driving on a filming day at Silverstone to simulate various lines through Copse Corner to use as evidence against Lewis Hamilton when it sought a review of his penalty for causing a collision with Max Verstappen in the British Grand Prix. But just because Albon wasn't in the public eye doesn't mean he was doing nothing. Not only did he use the season to reflect on what he did wrong in 2020, but also learn more about the way an F1 team works. Albon never gave up on finding a race seat, so when Williams needed a replacement for old friend and rival George Russell, the 26-year-old was the logical choice. While the Williams Mercedes FW44 has not been a very competitive car, it's Albon who has got the best out of it. He's comprehensively outperformed teammate Nicholas Latifi, who is in his third season at Williams, and established himself as the team's spearhead. His season started by putting the car, unexpectedly, into Q2 in Bahrain. That didn't appear to be on the cards after pre-season testing. He finished 13th in the race in Bahrain, although a late collision with Lance Stroll in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix earned him a 5-place grid penalty for the third race of the season in Australia. He was excluded from qualifying in Australia anyway, the result of having insufficient fuel to provide the mandatory 1 litre sample. But in the race, Albon executed an unorthodox strategy brilliantly, making his one pit stop at the end of the penultimate lap and emerging just ahead of Zhou Guanyu to take his and Williams' first point of the season in 10th. At Imola, Albon finished 11th, but his qualifying was ruined by Williams deciding not to change the brake bias when he came in for slicks in qualifying. This caused a rear brake fire that left him last. In Miami, he then picks up his second points finish with a 9th place. While assisted by incidents and time penalties for Fernando Alonso, Albon felt it was a stronger performance than Australia. Albon's haul of 3 points is nothing compared to what he used to rack up with Red Bull, but in a struggling team, a 9th and a 10th place are priceless. Albon looks like a completely different driver to the one who struggled so much in 2020. Behind the wheel, he looks completely in control, while off track, he is visibly more confident and assertive. Albon also has the advantage of not being measured against the preternaturally talented Verstappen. The previous generation of Red Bulls wasn't tailored to his driving style as some claim, but it did require a driver of his astonishing skills to make it work. That's what Albon couldn't live with. He has to carry the can for that, as Verstappen proved what the car was capable of, but just because Albon struggled in that situation didn't mean he was a no-hoper. Albon has now gone from number 2 at Red Bull to the main man at Williams. In doing so, he's replaced the seemingly irreplaceable given how vital George Russell was to the team from 2019 to 21. He's also made himself popular with the team, not just through the quality of his feedback and speed, but also his slightly less abrasive character compared to Russell. He has a way of communication that's made him very popular in the team. He has also brought a different setup philosophy to the team, favouring a good balance on turn-in and predictable rear end, whereas Russell was more concerned about consistency through the corner. Albon has therefore been the only true bright spot in a difficult start to the season for Williams. It now has a driver who can grow with the team in the coming years. Red Bull does still have a deal with Albon, who has only been confirmed officially as a Williams driver for 2022, but his early success with the team suggests he has found the perfect place to fulfil his potential as an F1 driver. Any possible return to the Red Bull ranks can therefore surely wait. It's proof that sometimes a driver needs to escape from a difficult situation in a top team to achieve that.